This is WBSM On Demand.
Welcome back. Welcome back to me. So yesterday was a good day. The day before, night before, Natalie had gotten a puppy, right? So we've been waiting for the puppy to arrive. Milo passed away. I think I told you that. So Milo was a great dog. Had him for 15 years. He passed away. And so Natalie replaced him. You really can't replace a dog, but she got a new puppy yesterday, the day before, really. And it's a lot more work than we had realized. I was telling Tim at the break, or Tim was telling me, probably should have got a used dog. Again, little puppies are great, and they're full of energy, and they stay up all night, and they keep you up all at night, and they have to learn how to go to the bathroom outside, and all of that fun stuff that I had forgotten because it was 15 years ago. And it was a really, it's a very interesting experience getting a puppy. I would have been better off, I think, or we would have been better off if we'd gone seen Terry Cripps and gotten a new to you dog, right? Over at the Fairhaven Animal Shelter, a new to you dog, not a brand new to the world dog. So anyway, I love the dog. It's great. And we haven't settled on a name yet, so it's Puppy now. But that is why I wasn't here yesterday, right? Because taking care of the dog and all of that, and Natalie's going to do a great job with the dog. I'm not around the dog as much as I used to be. I'm in medical treatments and medical appointments and here at work and stuff. So it's more Natalie's dog than it is mine. It's fun to have a puppy in the house. It's also nice to have a bachelor pad to go to occasionally when that puppy's not around or when the puppy is around. So I'll keep you updated on the progress with a new dog. Folks, raising a dog is a lot different than raising a child. Did anybody see the story this morning about the woman in Georgia, the mom who was arrested, handcuffs and all, by the lady police officer for letting her 10-year-old child walk a mile down the road? She was arrested, handcuffs and all, by a woman police officer who used her judgment that she was endangering her 10-year-old by letting the 10-year-old walk down a country road. That's insane. What were you doing at 10 years old? Can you imagine being arrested? Have your parents arrested? Handcuffs and all? Now, maybe it's procedure they got to use the handcuffs. I don't know. But handcuffs behind the back for letting a 10-year-old child walk on down the country road. I just think it's insanity. Did anybody see that story? I mean, to me, it's down in Georgia. It did not happen here in Massachusetts. What were you doing at 10 years old? 508-996-0500. We used to ride our bicycles all over the place. I used to leave Robinson Estates, ride to Cortez Variety out on Route 18. My friends and I used to ride all over the waterworks. Aquaticus Pond, where you guys get your water from, where most of New Bedford gets its water from. Out there in Freetown, Rochester land. I used to ride. I wasn't 10, but I was pretty young. I would ride from Robinson Estates out there by Cathedral Camp to Wilbur's Point in Fairhaven, and vice versa. I used to ride from Wilbur's Point. I was about 10 years old. I'd ride from Wilbur's Point in Fairhaven, the tip of Sconecuh Neck, back to Freetown. I'd ride up through Fairhaven, through Rochester, through Acushnet, through Rochester, out into Freetown, back to my house. I was 10 years old when I did that. certainly not much older. 4th grade, right? So I just can't get over that. Some woman is arrested for letting a 10-year-old walk down the street. I used to do all kinds of stuff like that. Anyway, 508-996-0. That's how you can get on the program this morning. Riding around on a bicycle. This kid was walking down the road in Georgia. Now, unless there's, I don't know, a tiger in the woods, I mean, how are you endangering your child? 10 years old, and the kid had no, I mean, they interviewed him on television. He had no obvious maladies or deficiencies like your host. So I don't get it. But to arrest the woman for endangering a child seems like he was just growing up. 508-996-05. Good morning. Thanks for holding. What were you doing at 10 years old?
Hey, I'm a little older than you, but I certainly understand what you're saying. It's a little excessive, but you certainly couldn't do today what you're doing, what we did when we were 10. If you did that now, you would probably get really shunned,
But weren't we better? Weren't we better as kids than a lot of the kids you see today? I think. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
we weren't obese.
But think about this though, Chris. I mean, I remember where you could, there was. You look out, you take a ride with your dad downtown, and you'll see girls hitchhiking to maybe Providencetown, or and all over the country.
Yes.
You don't see that no more, right? Because
I used to hitchhike. No, you're right about that. I used to hitchhike when I was I was maybe in high school? No, I was out of high school. I used to hitchhike.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I used to caddy and hitchhike and go there and back, and all my friends also. But things have changed to the point where, if you did that now and you went disappearing, if you disappeared, what would your neighbors say? That your parents were like unresponsible, not responsible, bad parent, the whole bit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You got to remember that. But I think it's a little excessive to arrest her for walking on a country road. It's different if you're doing that than walking down, in the middle of, some city, bad area,
et cetera,
et cetera.
I saw with the kid, thanks for calling my friend as always, the kid was walking down a road that looked like he was in Freetown, basically. And we don't arrest parents that don't let their kid out of the house. I would rather see a kid walking down the road than sitting in the house eating, corn chips all day and blowing up like a wood tick, right? That to me is neglect. That to me is endangerment. I mean, letting a kid, and by the way, it was the middle of the day. The mother was at the doctor's office, right? Taking her other kid to the doctor. And the little boy wanted to go for a walk. So he went for a walk. I mean, I to me, and again, it was Georgia, which really shocks me. But how much of it was the police officer, her judgment? It was a major judgment call, I think, by the police officer. Bad judgment call by the police officer. Letting a kid walk to town. I used to ride my bike, like I said, alone from Sconnick Neck Road to East Freetown. I might have been a little, maybe I was 13, but I was young because I know that, like, my friend's mother called my parents. I didn't tell my parents I was going back to the house in Freetown. I just was sick of being stuck down at Wilbur's Point. And we couldn't use, I guess. Remember, back then, phone calls were a toll call. So to call from Fairhaven to Lakeville back then, in the mid-'80s, early 80s, was a toll call. So half my friends lived in Lakeville. And if I wanted to talk on the phone with them, I couldn't do it from my cottage. My father wasn't going to pay that phone bill. So I knew other things. I think I wanted to watch whatever I wanted to do. I couldn't do it at Wilbur's Point, so I rode home to Freetown. I can't imagine if they arrested my father and mother for that, right? That would have been insane. Absolutely insane. What's happened in this country? Really, what has happened in this country? We're going to take a break. I'm Chris McCarthy. Welcome back. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. I'm Chris McCarthy, and you are the audience. And we are talking about this woman in Georgia who's been charged with child endangerment because she let her kid walk down the road in the middle of the day. She was taking the other kid to the doctor, and this kid was home alone. He was bored. And so rather than sitting in the house and stuffing himself with Doritos and playing video games, he walked to town. That seems like a profoundly American thing to do, or Irish thing, or African thing to do, when you're 10 years old, right? You're growing up. See what you folks have to say about this. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, Chris.
How you doing?
Glad to hear you're okay.
Thank
I got a little nervous yesterday, but I'm good for you with the puppy.
Thank you.
And, it's funny. I think I distinctly remember when I was 10 years old, I lived in the north end of New Bedford, and for Scouts, I was getting my life-saving badge.
Yes.
And at 10 years old, my mother used to let me walk down on Ashley Boulevard, get on the bus, get off downtown, walk up Hillman Street where the Y was, walk back down, of course, go to the peanut store on the way home, and then go to Cherry's, get on the bus, and come all the way back up the north end, and nobody ever thought twice about it.
Right, right. And you were never in danger.
No, I never encountered. Maybe I'm lucky. I don't know, but I never encountered anything. I mean, nobody bothered me. So I don't get it, especially in this case where they're in Georgia, out in the country. That's crazy. I watched it on TV. My wife and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" And why would they handcuff her?
Isn't it amazing? That cop,
I don't get it.
That cop, and first of all, there's a million kids in the world who are sitting in their house right now. Not the police should go there and check on them either, but it's just really, really the government reaching into people's lives. It's outrageous.
Yeah. I got to ask you this before I get off.
Sure, go ahead.
I had texted you about Matt Gaetz.
Yes.
Do you think this is just, Trump being Trump?
Of course it is.
Yeah, it's got to be, right? I mean, it's like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, the guy's innocent. He hasn't been proven guilty of anything. But
right.
Jesus, I'm looking at him going, wow, what a way to start. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens.
So I would say that Matt Gaetz, and thanks for the call, my friend, Matt Gaetz made a really great impression when he interrogated the current attorney general, right? When he was real in front of Congress. Matt Gaetz is innocent. I know there's been some allegations that he was involved with a 17-year-old. But let me just say this. The Biden Justice Department absolutely would have charged Matt Gaetz if they had a scintilla of evidence on him. But they didn't, so they couldn't charge him. Remember, the investigation, the process is the punishment. So people make allegations, and then they run with them. But in America, that doesn't preclude you from living your life. And now, could it preclude Matt Gaetz from being confirmed? Yeah, it probably could. Just because it's politics. And most political people are not going to help out someone who's been accused of a crime of a sexual nature. So he's not going to get any Democrat votes, and some Republicans might not vote for him either. But I don't think it's fair. But, of course, I don't know what the hell happened down there in Florida. I'll never know. I'll never know. 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, my friend?
All right. Sitting in the middle of the Freetown Forest talking to you. Anyway, the Matt Gaetz thing was a congressional hearing, and if there was any scintilla, like you said, of real facts there, they would have went right to the DOJ and they would have went after him. But yeah, I don't think there's much to it. But going back to the original comment about this arrest down in Georgia,
yes.
I just remember, like, you're about my age. I'm 64. How old are you?
53.
Okay, so, I mean, when the baby boomers were when my age group was with kids, we had so many kids around, like, all hours of the day, night. You couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting a kid on the street somewhere. And I know that probably freaks out people today. But, when I was 12 years old, I got on the bus in Newport, and I used to go to the Boston Bruins games, $7 for a ticket on the bus. It was like $12 for an obstructed view seat, and my mother never even knew I went. I went all the way to Boston and back, and I did it a bunch of times.
Right.
And it was just like, it just, so I guess, kids can do what they, within reason, I think are fine. I just don't understand why they would, mommy state the whole thing,
So you wonder if there's more to the story. Is there? That mother seemed like a normal person. The kids seemed normal to me. That cop, I think, made a really stupid move. I don't get it. God knows what happened in that police officer's childhood to make him think that way. Or is there more to the story? I just don't know.
Well, I would rather that they try to figure out where those 300,000 kids are that DHS lost. That to me is an extremely that's on a scale of 1 to 10. That's a 10 or an 11 right now. So we'll see how that goes. But
thank you for the call, my friend. Freetown State Forest. Now, there's a place I wouldn't. There's a reason you don't send a 10-year-old in a state forest unless you really don't like them. But again, I grew up out in Freetown. I was saying when I was about that age, I used to ride my bicycle from Wilbur's Point, the tip of Sconica Neck, all the way back to East Freetown. It was a long ride. But when you're a kid, you got nothing but time, right? You got tons of energy, and you just, you want to do something else. Maybe I wanted to play video games. I don't really remember. But I would leave I do remember this. I left the window unlocked on my bedroom. When I was home on a visit with my parents, I went home with my dad, I think, to get the mail. I left the window unlocked. I went back to my cottage with my parents for a couple of days. Then I rode home. I just wanted to hang out at the house. Right? So anyway, but I just remember, riding my bike to the store. I remember going with my friends in the woods. Never in the world did the police ever think to arrest us or arrest my parents. Just really ridiculous, I think. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
I know why you went. You went home. There was a girl waiting for you. Don't lie.
No, I was too young for that. I mean, I did like girls when I was 10. I get it, but it wasn't old enough for that stuff yet.
Yeah, I heard you talking about that, and I was like, it brought me back to when I was a kid. Where in the 80s we were just riding around. My parents kind of like they shoved you out the door. Actually, during the summer vacations, they shoved you out the door. You ain't staying home.
Right.
Get outside and go play, and I don't want to see you till the lights come on. That's it. Get out of my hair. Leave me alone. And you literally went to all your friends' house, knocked on the door, you all came out, and you went off. And you didn't you didn't see anybody, any adult really, for like 6 hours.
Right.
You went from like 10 in the morning to like 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And you just kept going. And I grew up in North Dartmouth, and we would be up and down Old Westport Road. We would be out in not sand dunes, but in a gravel pit, just messing around, throwing rocks at each other, probably not doing, smart things, but who cares?
Right.
And everybody did it. The cops' kids did it. I was probably hanging out with cops' kids, to be honest with you, back then.
Right.
So the fact that is happening, and in Georgia, which is really interesting, I would have figured that would happen down in Cambridge, not Georgia. But on a national level, Chris, what I heard on Bloomberg this morning, I thought was very interesting. There's going to be talks between Scholz, which is the chancellor for Germany, and Putin, first time in 2 years. And the way Bloomberg is even, or at least first thing this morning, around 6:30 this morning, Bloomberg was promoting it as this is the power emanating from Mar-a-Lago. The conversations are starting. They're trying to move the chess pieces around and figure things out. And that, I mean, you can't project. You don't know what the outcome of this talk is going to be. But the fact that there's conversations is a positive. At least there's no stalemate. there could be progress in the correct direction.
From their lips to God's ears. Let's hope so. By the way, Schultz is the leader of the Democrat Party. What are they? Those German parties. Oh, I really like German politics because over there they got to put a coalition together. So the Greens are part of the currently governing coalition over there in Germany. But folks, I'm going to play a little clip from NBC News. This is the story I'm talking about.
Shot.
What am I under arrest for?
Because you're under arrest. Brittany Patterson never thought taking her son for a medical appointment would result in a mugshot.
What am I under arrest for?
For reckless endangerment. Late last month, a mother of 4 arrested in front of her children.
The police are here and they're taking me to jail. So I need you to come stay with the kids. It was anger and frustration, of course, because my children were having to witness that. They're taking me to jail.
I love you.
Love you too, baby.
According to the sheriff's report, while she was out with one child, Brittany wasn't sure where her 10-year-old Soren was, but figured he was around the house. Instead, Soren had decided to take a walk in Mineral Bluffs, Georgia, to the Dollar General, less than a mile from the house.
It's really not even a town, hardly.
A rural area, population around 370.
It's not a super dangerous or even dangerous at all stretch of road.
But the catch? Brittany didn't know her son Soren had done that until a sheriff's deputy called.
So when you got that phone call, hey, do you know your kid is in town? What did you think?
I said no. I didn't know he was in town. I was not expecting them to say that.
Do you know your phone number for your mom? The sheriff's incident report says when the deputy called Brittany, she recalled when it was time to leave that morning, she, quote, couldn't find Soren anywhere. But Brittany felt okay leaving, given her mother lives a 1-minute walk away. She now faces a misdemeanor charge of reckless conduct, up to a year in jail, and a $1,000 fine. Neither the district attorney nor sheriff's department would comment for this story. But the sheriff's report says Brittany was, as she put it, quote, at her wit's end with dealing with Soren. Her lawyer says she was asked to sign a safety plan for her son, including a GPS tracker, before prosecutors would consider dropping the charges.
This is not right. I did nothing wrong. And I'm going to fight for that.
Yasmin Vesugian, NBC News.
Ever since I was a boy, I've dreamt of...
So the problem with this story is once your kid enters that system, once you and your family enter that government system where they can monitor your behavior and check in on you and all that stuff, you've lost your freedom and you're on the rotator. Right, you are on the conveyor belt to more trouble. Once you let those social service workers into your household, you are on the road to trouble. Really, I mean, I have good friends of mine who worked in the juvenile court system, and they've told me horror stories. I know social workers, guys who are normal, who are social workers, people who are clerk magistrates in the juvenile court system, they tell you about, how much they make a big deal about lots of stuff that doesn't really matter because they see things that do matter, right? But I've also heard stories that there are kids in all kinds of horrible situations, but the social workers are afraid to go to those houses. So when they see a nice middle-class family, maybe a single mother, who's not violent by any means, right? They spend their time there as opposed to someone who's a gang member and who's really abusing or neglecting their kids. But they don't want to go there because that's a real dangerous job. I mean, again, this is not work I'd ever want to do. I would never want to work with kids, families, none of that. I like being a wise ass on the radio. But there are people out there who choose it as a profession. But I don't. I think you got to be very jealous of your rights as a citizen, very guarding of your privacy, and very protective of your children. Because once they get a government number, once you let them into the system, they're going to be all over you after that. People make a living off of it. It's like having a crack in your windshield. You got to get it fixed, though, right? Having a cracked windshield, especially in the winter, it's dangerous. They should take your kids away if you have a cracked windshield. I agree with that. Cracked windshields lead to big trouble, but they don't have to, all right? We got a very simple solution for you. Citywide Glass. Pick up the phone, call Citywide Glass. They will send a mobile team out to your house or your work. They'll fix your windshield up. Likely won't cost you anything. Probably won't, because they accept all insurance. Citywide Glass, citywideglass.net. Check them out. Call their location in Dartmouth or Fall River. Make an appointment. They'll send the mobile team right to your home or to your work. Fix your windshield. They do door glass, door windows, truck sliders, sunroofs, everything. Just a phone call away. There's no reason to have that ugly crack, dangerous crack in your windshield. Call Citywide Glass in Dartmouth or Fall River or go to citywideglass.net. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Thanks for holding. You're on the air. Apparently not. So that's the story, right? A woman in Georgia is being arrested and charged for letting her kid walk down the street. I think it's absolutely outrageous. You wonder what's becoming of society, right? When parents aren't allowed to let their kid go out. Now, the other part of that story, don't ever talk to the cops. I love the police, you know that. But only talking to them hurts you. I don't mean if you're a victim of a crime or anything like that. But if you get an odd phone call and you don't know why they're asking you questions, don't answer it. That's not what America's about. Unfortunately, America's about Thanksgiving, though, right? We love Thanksgiving. We here at WBSM want to help local families celebrate together with our Hunger Heroes food drop. For 32 years in a row, we've been helping to collect food for the benefit of the United Way, Greater New Bedford's Hunger Heroes Project. Join us at Aldi in Dartmouth tomorrow, November 16th, from 10 a.m. to noon to donate the necessary Thanksgiving items. You can find all the details at WBSM.com. Hunger Heroes Food Drive, made possible by our friends at Is Schwartz Appliance, First Citizens Federal Credit Union, Carefree Homes in Fairhaven, and Aaron Pools and Spa. That's how you can get on the air. Let me see. Go ahead, you're live on the air. Go ahead, you're live on the air. Whoever that is that keeps calling like that. Not answering their phone. Ridiculous. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Hi. So the only thing I have a problem with this story is that it's not like she let him go. I would be fine if she said, yeah, you can walk to Dollar General and come back. She just didn't know where he was. That's a little scary if your 10-year-old's missing out of your house and you don't know where he is and you didn't go looking for him. That's the only part. I mean, if she said, yeah, go to Dollar General, that's fine. And then you can watch for him to be home at a certain time or whatever. But she didn't even know he was gone.
That may be the part that got her in trouble, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But, yeah, I absolutely think that's what it was.
What about the fact that she named him after the evil wizard from the Tolkien books, Sauron? Does that send up any red flags? Did you notice that? That's from Lord of the Rings, Sauron. Unless that's a family name.
That's right, yeah. That's right. But, I mean, and that's the thing. If you know where your kid's going, that's right. And granted, same thing with me. When I was a kid, it was just go out and play. You went wherever you wanted. Your parents didn't know where you were. But, she's saying that she didn't know where he was even before they called her. So that's a little sketchy. But
did your parents know where you were?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
No. They didn't. And if they had called up and said, did you know your daughter was here? They would have said, no, I didn't know she was there either.
Right.
It's just, I don't know. I think that nowadays that's probably the part that got her in trouble. Like I said, if you said, yeah, go to Dollar General, and then you knew when he'd be back and where he was and what he was doing. But I think the fact was that she didn't know where he was and she didn't look for him. And it didn't worry her that a 10-year-old wasn't home. But, I mean, nowadays. But like you said, back years ago, that wouldn't have been a problem.
Thanks, Tim. No, thanks for the call, my friend, as always. Thank you. Don't be a stranger. I wonder about it, right? My father, who raised a lot of kids, right? He had 3 boys of his own, but was a school teacher and a school administrator for decades. His system was this. He would yell out the door. He was a big guy. He had big lungs. He would yell, Neil, Sean, Chris. Top of his lungs, out the door. And we'd be in the neighborhood somewhere, and we'd come running home. If not, one of the kids would say, hey, I think your dad's calling you, right? My friend, the Guarinos, Mr. Guarino built nuclear power plants. Mrs. Guarino was a social worker. She got a colonial-era bell. The thing was amazing. A big old bell, and she would ring that bell. The kids hated it, but they would try to avoid having her ring the bell, right? But if she couldn't find them, she had a bell she would ring. Other people would dial around the neighborhood, right? Call around the neighborhood. Is my kid outside? Nobody knew where you were. And nobody went to jail for it. Take a break. If you're on hold, stay there. I do see you. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. I'm Chris McCarthy. Talking about this story down in Georgia where a woman was arrested for letting her kid walk what it sounds like a mile down the road to town. He was at the Dollar General store. That sounds nothing different than my childhood, really. My father was in charge of a lot of kids. Your kids, many of your kids, and he wouldn't have seen anything wrong with this. I know that. God love him. He's passed away, but I know he wouldn't have seen anything wrong with this. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Chris.
What's
Good to hear you come back.
Thank you.
I missed you.
Thank
I
you.
missed you, friend.
I appreciate that. I missed you guys.
Reruns of Howie Card just don't cut it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, we're becoming slowly a police state.
Yes.
Ben Franklin said it best. Those who give up liberty for security deserve neither one nor the other. And I remember watching C-SPAN in front of a congressional hearing. I can't remember his name, but he's a well-known constitutional law professor at George Washington University. And
Turley?
He's a regular on Fox.
Turley.
And he talked to the topic was about technology and where it's going and about freedom and privacy. Excuse me. And he said that's quickly become a thing of the past. There is going to be no privacy. The intrusion of all this technology. People don't realize every time they pick up that phone, everything's being monitored into a data collection system.
It's incredible how much the government knows about you. In fact, I would say this, that the government is so involved in mass accumulation of data on everybody that they miss the people they should be focusing in on. It's almost bizarre. Like when you go to the airport and everybody, including your grandmother, has got to take their shoes off. When the people who are more likely to do something wrong, which are young men, really, should be targeted. I mean, not just everybody on the plane. It's ridiculous.
It's the same thing when you go into a court building and you go into a federal building. I mean, they treat you like a crook. They look up and down at you, even get an attitude. And you're just an American citizen doing your duty, jury duty, and you're being patted down almost like a criminal. And I often wonder and say to myself, how do we get here? And this is no longer the America of the founding fathers, and this is no longer the America I knew.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you, my friend. I had to go over to the federal building. I've been there a couple times, obviously. And we hope that the building doesn't close, by the way. We'll have to get an update from Mayor Mitchell on that, because that federal building is very crucial to the region, right? But anyway, I was over there one day. Now, nowadays, I don't really do it as much. I have a bag I carry everything in. But I used to carry a pocket knife. Why? Everybody I know has a pocket knife, which is maybe why I don't have to have one. But basically, you have to open anything, you want to have a small blade with you, right? So I have a pocket knife. Remember, I went to the federal building, and I couldn't get in the building with a small pocket knife. I mean, and again, I get there are rules, and I kind of joked with the guy about it. He wasn't in a joking mood. Of course, he was a security guard at the federal building, so maybe he didn't have the best attitude towards life. Maybe life hadn't done him all the best turns. Maybe he was waiting on a better call, right? But anyway, I don't like to give people a hard time, but I know he didn't make. I think I said to him, I know you didn't make the rule, but it seems kind of dumb, right? The can't bring a small pocket knife into a federal building. Why? What am I going to do? But anyway, I had to walk back to the car and put the knife in the car. Again, we are not talking about a Rambo knife. We're talking about a small folding blade knife, something you use to open packages. But this is where we are today. It's really amazing. A woman is arrested because her kid is a mile down the road, and she doesn't know it. And then upon being asked by the police what she knew, now again, I don't want to beat up on the police because they have a very, very difficult job. And they've got to make a decision. And today, everything is on camera. Everything is audio recorded. So maybe that police officer had no choice, right? Had to fill out a report, had to file charges. I don't know. I hate to pile on the cop, but it seems kind of excessive, particularly when I hear from local police, some have retired now, just how bad some of these parents are. That woman didn't seem like a bad parent to me. But 508-996-0500, that's how I can get on the program. If that kid had been in a car, that's a different story, right? If he had taken his parents' car out for a joyride, you can understand why they'd be maybe being arrested. Of course, I never did that, but I had friends who did. I had friends who took their parents' car everywhere, down to Cape Cod, all over the place. When they were like 14, 15 years old. You got to watch out if your kid's borrowing your car. The parents had no idea, right? 508-996-05. Good morning. Thanks for holding. You're on the air.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, they seem stupid rules, but they save lives. If you can't do something with a small pocket knife and you'd like to know what can be done, come over to my house, and I'll show you what a small pocket knife can do. When jabbed in the spleen, jabbed in the pancreas, the liver, you bleed out.
But why would you do that, though?
Why are these kids shooting people? I mean, you and I wouldn't do that.
Right.
We have a pocket knife to open things.
Right.
But the rule is we have crazy people in this world today. We don't have nut houses anymore, so they're walking around beside you.
Right. But that's my point. We are legislating to the lowest common denominator rather than isolating people who really are a problem.
But we legislate too because people stand back. They don't jump in and help. They don't stop because we aren't doing what we... When America started, we were one nation under God. We followed Judeo-Christian rules. We helped each other. We were there. But they aren't there now. People step back. I don't want to get involved.
Right, but don't you think you can eyeball somebody and figure out whether they're a threat or not?
I can.
Yeah, you can, and so can I. And so should the security people. They've got to be given some discretion.
That's true.
Right.
That's true. They should. But the real problem is we have so many out there that have issues that you get them mad, and we've let a whole group of people come into this country that knives are what they settle problems with.
Yes. Well, you're right about that. You are right about that.
And never mind guns. Knives are what they said. So, and their mindset is, you disrespect me, I'll get rid of you. That's it. Boom. I'll show you. Well, until we get rid of those people or change their mindset or teach their children that isn't the mindset of America, they have to have these rules. Stupid rules. Take your shoes off. Why is it a 78-year-old man doesn't have to take his shoes off, but a 77-year-old man does? It's ridiculous, but they're rules, and you follow those rules.
Well, believe me, I do follow them. I do, because thanks for the call, my friend. I mean, I don't want to be a hassle to anybody. I really don't. And sometimes rules are in place for reasons you don't necessarily comprehend because you don't have as much information as the person that made the rule. I get it. But just seems ridiculous, right? Just seems ridiculous. 508-996-04. Take a break. We'll be right back. We also can look at the road rushing out from underneath them, right? Head over to Mac Auto Sales, 188 Rivet Street, New Bedford. They repair all makes and models of automobiles. So if you need to get your car ready for the coming cold weather, a little frost on the pumpkin today, right? If it's getting cold out there, you need to get your car ready for the coming cold weather. Call Mac Auto Sales and Repair, 508-565-6221. They're open weekdays, 9 to 5 for your convenience. They specialize in working with foreign automobiles. So give Mac Auto Sales a call. Ask about their aftermarket accessories and the quality used cars they have for sale. So if you're looking for a new-to-you car, by the way, I got a brand new puppy the other day. Let me tell you something. Maybe a new-to-me puppy would have been better. A new-to-me dog. Maybe a new-to-you car is better too, right? Cost less, get just as much mileage out of it. So head over to Mac Auto Sales. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning.
What's happening?
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Dighton?
Can't complain, brother. Hey, listen, I did a lot of hitchhiking back in the day, and we never thought of it being dangerous back in the early, when I was 14, 15, even when I was 16, got a license, I didn't have a car. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And I used to carry, I know this sounds funny, but we invented this, me and a couple other fellas. We had I hope they don't outlaw water pistols. We bring a water pistol with us loaded with ammonia.
Okay.
And we squirt that. Nobody ever gave us any guff, but that's a weapon, isn't it?
No, it's good to keep. Like if you're out walking the highways and byways of America, and a dog starts to harass you, that's not a bad way to keep them away either. Because it bothers their nose, but it doesn't really hurt them.
That's why they got mace.
Yeah, well, I mean mace.
This was before mace was legal,
No, I totally get it, and I don't even think mace is a good defense technique anyway. Because if somebody's really trying to hurt you, how are you going to spray them with an aerosol in the eyes? It takes so much skill to do that. And if you ever practiced at spraying an attacker in the face, it's going to be useless. You're better off with a small knife.
You kick them where it counts, that's for sure. And if they throw anything at you, you block it. That's the best. My father taught me a few things when I was younger,
Yeah.
He says if anybody ever tries to get you, it's unfortunate, but you got to give them a kick where it, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but nobody ever tried to hurt you. Nobody ever really tries to hurt you, right?
I'm talking mid-'60s. This is a beautiful. We used to hitchhike up Lincoln Park from Dighton, up 138, and get on Route 6 and get rides, maybe in two different rides all the way there. And we never had troubles.
No. I used to hitchhike around. There's just, again, I was in my late teens. Maybe even, I don't know if it was early 20s, late teens though. But I remember I used to fly over to Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket and hitchhike over there too. There was never any problem.
Well, that's quite a trip to hitchhike on, yeah. You used to see years ago all kinds of guys with signs saying, going to this place, they'd have a big piece of cardboard saying where they were going, Chris, Right.
Yeah. And sometimes they made it, sometimes they didn't.
I think I grew up in the best times.
Well, maybe, depends.
Yeah.
Whenever you're in your early 20s and late teens, that's the best time.
Yeah. And, well, 30s was good for me.
Yeah, well, 30s were good for me, too.
That was basically in the 80s,
Right. That was pretty good, right?
I had a lot of girlfriends.
Oh, that's pretty good. Was it as good for them as it was for you? Who knows? Probably not.
Okay, brother. Nice talking to you again.
Nice talking to you, my friend. All right, folks. So in the next hour, we'll could talk about parallel products. There was a big meeting up the North End 2 nights ago for parallel products. That is the waste transfer facility that's coming to New Bedford. And look, the region needs it. I think the city needs it. Is there a way to do it without being a big burden to the neighborhood? I think there is. But you got to keep the conversations going. And they had a conversation the other night. So